Then I'm on the second sentence on the second page. Capacity building activities are designed to increase an organization's sustainability and effectiveness, enhance its ability to provide social services, and create collaborations to better serve those in need. Those are your outcomes. After you provide these services in those 5 areas that it detailed, these are what the outcomes are going to be: that you increase the organization's sustainability and effectiveness, enhance the ability to provide social services, and so on. So what you want to do is take those 3 points and elaborate on them. How exactly you're going to do it? How many groups you're going to work on? How do you show that you've improved their sustainability and effectiveness? I think that makes these much easier than foundations where you have to come up with your own objectives and so forth. The key is to figure out how you are going to explain how you're going to do these things. Okay, next section, I'm still on page 2, the funding opportunity description. Background. It gives you all the background of what it is that this agency is trying to accomplish with this program. We're not going to read all that. Then we skip to page 5, definitions. On page 1, they talked about there was a lead organization and you had project partners. In definitions, all these different terms that they use in the proposal, they have a definition of them. So you don't have to try to figure out what they were talking about. You can just go and look at the definitions here. Okay, I'm on page 7, program purpose and objectives. Again, here is where they tell you what the purpose is and what the objectives are. Those are going to be your purpose and your objectives. You've got to propose to do what it is that they say they want done. You just describe how you're going to do it and why you're qualified to do it. Okay, we're skipping over to page 9. I'm looking at D just as an example. One of the things you're supposed to be doing is provide training, technical, and financial support services. Lead organizations will provide 2 services within their communities: capacity building training and technical assistance to nonprofit organizations, and competitive financial assistance to some subset of the organizations receiving training and technical assistance. Then if you look underneath it, it explains to you what exactly capacity building training and technical assistance is on the next page. Then it gives you examples within the 5 critical capacity building areas that it wants you to work in. So again, when you first pick this up, it looks like, oh my God, why is it so long? It's so complicated. But once you start going through it, it's really walking you through, step by step, what exactly you need to do. On the next page, 12, financial support to project partners. It tells you again what you're supposed to do. On the next page, it tells you what are the requirements if you're going to give financial assistance to another group. On page 14 in the middle, it says priority for financial assistance will be given to organizations whose annual budgets do not exceed $500,000. That's one of the requirements. So when you do your proposal, you need to say in your proposal that priority will be given to these organizations. So it's really not as bad as it initially appears to be. It's not as complicated. If you skip over to page 15, award information. Here it's not a grant, it's a cooperative agreement. But that's essentially, as far as you're concerned, it's essentially the same thing. On the next page, they're expecting to give 34 awards. They're expecting to give $1 million per project period. There's no minimum amount. The average award is $1 million. The average award is $1 million. Length of project period, other. Explanation of other, that means it says that it's 24 months. That's important because when you do your timeline and all your activities, it has to be for a 24-month period. Okay, we're going to skip over a whole bunch of stuff. Now, if you were actually going to apply, of course, you should read everything and then expect to read it again and then read it a third time highlighting the stuff that you really need to know. Okay, page 19, you have your eligibility information. And it lists all the different kind of organizations that are eligible to apply. I had a couple of people in here who have for-profit businesses that were interested in grants. We look under here and you see toward the bottom, oh, small businesses are eligible to apply. So that's excellent. Sometimes you'll get these RFPs and only state governments are eligible, or only city governments, or only nonprofits. So you need to read through this. This may be one of the first places that you go, because if you're not eligible, you don't want to bother reading 63 pages. I know, I wouldn't want to. All right, we're on to page 20, the next page. Cost sharing or matching. Sometimes, and I mentioned this before, they'll give you a grant, but you're also required to kick in some money. And here they tell you, grantees must provide at least 20% of the total approved cost of the project. And then in case you have any questions about how do you figure out the 20%, it has a little box down there that gives you some examples so that you can figure it out for yourself. Yes? The question was, do you have to have 20% before they'll send you your portion? And the answer is no, but you have to indicate where you would get the 20% from. And oftentimes what you would do, unless it says you can't do it, is to use staff time, for instance. Let's say your executive director makes $50,000, I'm just making up figures. Then you were going to have them on this project half-time, then that would put $25,000 toward the $250,000. But again, you have to read the instructions, because it may say that you can't do that. But you may also have a grant from some other organization to do something similar, so you could put those grant funds toward this budget. Yes? Okay, he asked if it's a church and they have the 501c3 status, are there any restrictions regarding church and state? And yes, there are, and in fact, it's described in here to some degree. I don't have that page marked, but if you're, basically you can't combine, with the federal funds, you can't provide religious services. So you have to separate the religious aspects of your organization from the grant activities. There's more information on that. There's also I think it's the Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives, that you should go to that website and see all the details of that if you're a church or a religious organization. Yes? You said on page 6? Okay, thank you. She said on page 6 it talks about secular social service programs. Okay. All right, then I'm back to page 20 underneath that chart. Other, this is just another requirement. Organizations that partner with the lead organization to deliver technical assistance or provide part or all of the cost share are not eligible for financial assistance. Now that's something that's just particular to this particular grant, but that's something that you have to look out for.